first, if you take President Tusher, if you interviewed him, he has been concerned with everything in the stake. When we were part of the East Columbia River Stake, he was on the High Council there. And so when they made the North Columbia River Stake, they took him from the High Council and made him stake president. But at that time, the Bishop Arnold was bishop of the First Ward, and President Parker was bishop of the Second Ward. So they made Parker the first counselor and President Arnold the second counselor. And so then after that,
where are you?
in here.
Oh.
Hello there.
Oh.
How are you?
I don't want me in that picture.
Oh yes, we do.
I just exercised
Well, you look good.
and my hair goes straight.
You look good.
Oh yeah, right.
Yes, you do. You always look good.
But anyways, President Parker was released, and so President Arnold was made first counselor, and President Robinson was made a second counselor.
Oh.
You're not recording this, are you?
Yeah, it's okay. Cause I'll just,
Yeah, just-
you never know
edit.
what you might say that I.
And so when they were, I don't know what they were doing, but anyway, it came down to President Tusher, and then President Robinson was made first counselor, and then I was made second counselor. And then President Robinson got called on the mission.
No, got called to be the stake president of the Longview Stake.
No, not President. Oh yeah, President Robinson got called to be the president of the West Stake.
No,
Excuse me,
the Longview Stake.
It was the Longview Stake. It was,
Council Longview.
yeah. Where's my piece of paper? Okay, at first it was called Columbia River West, and then it was changed to the Longview Washington Stake. And Lee Robinson was the first president of it in the 4th of September 1973. And so that's when I went in to be a first counselor. And Rod Smith was the second counselor. And Don Hartley was the executive secretary. And when President Tusher finally went out, I don't know, 100 years ago. But anyway,
President Arnold went in.
President Arnold went in. He'd come back from his mission by then. And so then he went in as stake president, and they made me the first counselor again. And I think was Rod the second counselor again. I think I'm getting this history all
I
wrong.
think that's right, because I know when I was talking to Rod Smith, he said that you two served under Arnold.
Right. Well,
Yeah, they did serve under Arnold,
And
but
when
I
the-
think
when
it
they-
was before he went on his mission.
when they made the Vancouver West Stake, and they released our whole stake presidency, and they put in young President Poyfair. And so President Poyfair had his counselors were in there, and who was your counselor? You were there.
Steve Sorensen.
Steve Sorensen was the second counselor, first or second counselor, who knows?
He was
And
the second counselor. Ricker Jones was the
and
executive.
Ricky Jones was executive secretary, and Don Hartley was another counselor. And then, of course, that was in November 1978. The time that they released us then, and I went in to be the stake financial clerk then. But a few years after that, President Tusher was made a bishop of the 5th Ward. And a few years after that, he was made the first branch president of the singles ward. And the singles ward was the first singles ward in the Portland, Vancouver area totally.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had me as first counselor, and Craig, anyway, as a second counselor.
Craig and Verna.
Can't remember right offhand.
Yeah.
My memory's gone. And so we served in there 5.5 years with the singles, and so we went to every family home evening every Monday night, and after fast and testimony meeting, we always had a big banquet up to the church, and we met up to the Stake Center. And Marilyn, she was the women's mother counselor or something. Anyway, the girls came to her for advice and counsel, whatever.
Well, the guys more than the
But
girls.
then finally,
He was like the mom.
and finally, the Portland said that they needed a singles branch, and so they developed one. And after 5.5 years, our singles branch had Mason Smith, and they made it a ward, so he was the first bishop of the branch. And so then it went on from there. At one time in our ward up at this building, we had 3 wards meeting there. And we had a Asian,
Clark branch.
we had the Clark branch meeting there. We had an Asian branch meeting there. And we had
3 wards.
3 wards, and let's see, I thought there was somebody else there or not. But anyway, when they made the 6th ward, they had to meet in Ellsworth School because there wasn't any room in our building anymore. So they were meeting in the Ellsworth School. So they divided the ward, but poof. It was interesting to note in one place, and you probably read that the 2nd ward had about 1,000 members, and they were trying to bring the attendance of sacrament meeting up from 15% to 20%. And so we were pretty low percentages.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of people around. Now, when Marilyn was the Stake Relief Society president, we had all these places to go, and our stake at one time included Kelso and Longview and Seaside, Astoria, Long Beach, Cathlamet, Woodland,
Stevenson.
Stevenson, Battleground,
Well, all of that.
and the wards all down here. So there's that many wards, so we had to visit that many wards. And so when she was there, she took our kids with her up to Cathlamet and all over the place. And when we had to meet at Stevenson, not Stevenson, but when we made it at Seaside, we went the night before on a Saturday and spent the Saturday at Seaside. And then we got up in the morning very early to go to bishopric meetings at 6 o'clock, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was quite a deal. I remember when we went to the 3 combined meetings, the 3-hour block. President Arnold was the stake president. He was really not for it at all, because he said the people would play around all day, and that the reverence wouldn't be as it should be on Sundays. Before that, when we went visiting, like if we went to Longview, we went to priesthood in the morning, then we went to Sunday school, and then we had to wait till 7 o'clock for sacrament meeting. And so we always went to somebody's house to eat, and then they'd let us lay down for a couple hours to sleep. And so we got to know them a little better but we were gone all day when we went to the outlying ones. If we were in town, of course, we came home.
Yeah. And all your family went.
Well, that all
No.
changed in 1980.
That changed when it went to the block system.
Is that what it was? Is 80?
1980.
Maybe.
And so
I remember it, but I don't.
when we took Stevenson in, I'm not Stevenson, excuse me, when we took Seaside into our stake, we went up there for the meeting, and they had the building all repainted, and they had everything just washed down and ship shape, and had a great big meal for us, and everything was fantastic. But when we were first in the stake, our boards used to be large boards. Her Relief Society board had, 20 people on it or so?
At least 20, 22.
20, 22 people on the Relief Society board. And I was Stake Young Men's president for a number of years.
Mm-hmm.
And we had all kinds of people on our board. And at that time we had all kinds of road shows. We had musicals and, of course, dance festivals. And it was a real going concern. Our basketball was, as it is now, a going concern.
Right.
And so we had all those things to not contend with, but to enhance
Keep you
the state
busy.
activities
It's
program.
not much different today, though.
There's not the boards, but it still runs, about the same. But high councilmen are in charge of this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
When also you got a picture of a luau, I think,
I do.
and that's one off.
Did you get one?
I sent her one, but that was taken off a slide, so
Yeah.
I didn't know how
Yeah.
good it came out.
I found an old Relief Society book at the church, and it has some of that in there too. Some of those luau's.
Yeah, right.
Okay, does it?
But what we did
I
for
heard
those
that was
luau's, we
big.
had some Hawaiian people in our ward, and they put the pig in the pit and put it in the wire, and roast it in the pit and come out, and we pick the pork out of the wire, and the pork next to the wire was the best pork.
Was it?
Then they had these, and they had all the 2 and 3 finger poi and all these various Hawaiian dishes, and it was really a good affair. What was it, annually or
Annually we
about
have.
annually? That's the time when the Relief Society had to make their own money, and so that's where they made their expense money there.
No, we made our expense money from bazaars.
And they had
So,
bazaars.
what was the money used for? The building or what?
No, the
No.
money had to run Relief Society.
Oh.
Because
And
the-
women paid dues, 50
Yeah.
cents,
Huh.
to belong to Relief Society. I don't know when that went out.
Boy. Well, I never paid you.
And they had a little card that says you're a member of the Relief Society, and
We used to carry a
50
card.
cents on there.
Oh, I see. I didn't know that.
Didn't you know that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, we carried a card. And did anyone mention Singing Mothers?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I sent a picture
You did.
of that.
Over at Irma Hurston, because her Alvarita, I think.
Alvarita was
She
the
was the
chorister.
leader.
That whole
Was the
group.
conductor.
Yeah, I spend
Oh,
quite a
she
bit of
had that
time
picture?
with that whole group, that whole family, that last week.
Okay.
And,
Oh, then she had that picture for you. Okay.
So
So
lot
they
of
did they mention bazaars and Singing Mothers
Yes.
and the luau's then?
Yeah.
Okay. Then
But
you've
the
got all
Relief
that.
Society didn't get any money from the bishopric or the
But
church.
no, I didn't know that about the Relief Society. Nobody's ever said that about paying
The,
dues and that your money was.
We had
didn't know all that.
when the building was built, we had to go to Portland and order everything for the building, for the kitchen.
Oh,
And the stake paid for that. But everything we did in Relief Society, we had to earn the money with bazaars. And we were down at the Key, and every year we had a big bazaar and made, $700-800, made bread, sold bread,
wow.
bought flour, and it was a big affair, and generally it lasted 3 days.
Huh.
3 days, and most of the women that participated in a lot of that are dead.
Really?
I think Joanne Tusher and myself and Alvarita, etc. Irma, but they weren't in the Relief Society.
Mm-hmm.
But all the women that have served there, are basically dead.
Wow. So
One
you should
thing,
feel blessed that you're still here.
one thing
Well, I
we,
was just a young punk when they came. They were a lot older than I was.
Really? Yeah.
well, the first Relief Society president was that
Vera.
Vera Murdoch. One thing in that history, it lists her as the first counselor, Elizabeth Martin. But she
Oh,
wasn't.
so I have read somewhere that Ann Fettis or something was the first Relief Society.
Well, she was the first Relief Society president, when we first began, but when we became a state.
Okay, then it was who?
Vera Murdoch.
Okay, because, yeah, that's not right in there. They have somebody
It
else.
said she was the first counselor in one of those things.
Vera Murdoch was the very first one called, and she only served.
And then her and her husband went on a mission.
They went on a mission.
Oh.
They were called on a mission.
And then Elizabeth Barton went in and served
And
for
12 years, about 10 or
About 10 or-
11, 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
and Marilyn.
And
was
then
one of
I
her
went
counselors.
in 78
See,
when
'cause
the,
I've seen pictures. Of you in the book. Mm-hmm. Because the release site, yes. Mm-hmm.
so, but I was in the Relief Society.
In
For-
1970.
We started in 63, December of 63.
Then I mean, you started.
Oh,
what-
I
your-
started in 78, or when President Poyfair went in.
Okay. so
I
that-
was called and Elizabeth was released.
Mm-hmm.
5th of November, 1978.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, so what at that,
So that's when you.
yeah, that state conference.
One thing that was a big,
And then you've got all the presidents. Then Nancy Priest went in.
No, I don't have them all. Heavens no.
Oh,
I don't have a clue.
well, you don't. You probably don't need that.
It'd be kind of fun, but I got thinking, I was like, oh, it'd be fun to have a picture of all that served, and I was like, you know what, there's probably quite a few. Especially when you have all the different counselors that came in.
oh,
The
yeah.
problem-
Oh yeah, in and out.
So
in
see,
and out.
then I thought, oh, I'd hate to leave somebody out. Then I'd feel bad.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to leave somebody out.
No.
But Vera Murdoch was the very first one. But she only served, I would say, till spring
Not very
or
long.
something like that. And then they went on a mission.
Mhm.
And Elizabeth went in and she was in 12 or 13. She was in a long time.
I'll have to see.
The
if
whole time Wally was.
yeah,
And,
I'll have to find-
and I was in there with them
yeah.
until we moved up here in 1969. No, I was the junior Sunday school coordinator down at the other building. Has anybody mentioned junior Sunday school? See, junior Sunday school used to be in the church until
Never
the
gone to
block
junior
program.
Sunday school.
And then primary went from late to Sundays.
And junior Sunday school, they always had sacrament in junior Sunday school. And so they had it in the regular sacrament meeting, and junior Sunday school had their own sacrament, and a couple of priests and a couple of deacons passing it in the junior Sunday school.
See, I don't remember that at all. As a
Don't
child,
you?
I remember going to junior Sunday school, but I don't remember the sacrament being passed in there. And,
Yeah, it
and I
was,
read
and
that
then-
somewhere, and I'm thinking,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, it was.
It was good for the kids, you know, to have their sacrament every time. They sang the kids' sacrament songs and so forth.
So
It was great.
Okay, so I gotta get this right. So the sacrament, there was an adult sacrament and a junior sacrament.
Junior Sunday school.
So that you didn't meet all together in sacrament meeting.
We didn't meet in sacrament meeting.
I don't
It's
know,
families.
but why did they have the sacrament? It wasn't the second sacrament, but they passed the sacrament.
I don't remember
But
that
it was called junior
particularly.
Sunday school, not
I was a
primary.
junior Sunday school coordinator
Yeah.
too, down at the
So
other
you-
building and up here for a little while till the block
So
came in.
Huh.
When the block came in, primary went from, I don't know what day it
And
was.
primary used to be on Thursdays.
Yeah, it used to be on Thursdays.
And so they had that extra meeting. They went on Thursday to have primary.
Yeah, because I do remember going to primary on a different day of the week. You know.
Yeah. And Relief Society was on Tuesdays, Tuesday mornings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for years and years and years, and then that went out.
Mm.
You know, they're always changing the
Little things.
format and procedures and etc. Yeah, it's hard to keep track of that.
Oh yeah.
At one time, our stake temple was the Idaho Falls Temple.
Wow.
And I remember a couple excursions we had to Idaho Falls. I remember this one we went clear to Idaho Falls, and they only let each girl and boy be baptized for 3 people, and all that way. And then after that, the Oakland Temple opened up, and so we had trips to Oakland Temple. And I remember one time we took 3 bus loads of kids down to Oakland, and I think they each got between 10 and 15 names. And so those were some pretty big deals to get them a temple experience.
Yeah.
So now they just have to go across the bridge and
Wow.
And they get to go often.
Yes.
They get to,
That's a long ways to travel.
that's a long
well,
ways.
and then we went to Seattle after that
Yeah.
So that,
until in 1989 when this one opened. So,
yeah, that's ugh.
One interesting thing that happened when I was in the stake presidency with President Arnold and President Smith is when
and Mason's,
over in Portland,
Rodney Smith, not Lacey.
oh, well, Rodney Smith, okay. But anyway, it's a time when this fellow Wallace baptized a black over in Portland. And we heard about it, and I called Salt Lake because President Arnold was gone to conference. And so I talked to President Kimball. And he says, well, you go over there and just observe it and see what's happening. Well, I was getting ready to go over there, and then he called back and said, nah, don't you go over there. So just send your public relations man on the High Council over. That's good enough recognition. So we sent over Rickard Jones. And so he went over there and watched them baptize this black. Well, afterwards, we took Brother Wallace. What was his first name? Anyway, Doug Wallace. We had him. We had to bring him in for a church disciplinary council. And when he came in, he wanted the newspapers present, and he wanted everything recorded and everything else. And we said, well, this council is restricted, and it's just members of the church, and this council is just you, and if you want to witness or something, that's fine. And then the High Council is divided into two pieces, for and against, and so forth. And anyway, so we had that council on him, and he was excommunicated from the church. Well, and at one time he told us, that he had the revelation that he was supposed to be president of the church. But
The adversary,
and he made it
right there, he never quits.
And he made a prediction that Joseph Fielding Smith wouldn't be president of the church very long. Well, he went in when he was 90 or something. So
Yeah.
So I could have predicted that.
Right. So that was.
But anyway, I know one of my roles when we had the groundbreaking for the Seattle Temple, I was one of the few that knew what Doug Wallace looked like, and I knew him pretty well. And so they had me by one of the gates, and if I saw him come in, I was supposed to highlight one of the secret service people that they had up there, but I never did. He never did show up for it. So there was quite a to-do about it for a number of years.
Yeah.
So a lot of publicity for that was a lot of negative.
Yeah. Sometimes, though, in history, it's kind of good to know that everything wasn't peachy roses, but yeah, you had to be careful.
Well, as we always were involved with steak farms, and at the time, every stake had to have a steak farm. Well, for a while, we were connected with Portland some way, and we had a steak farm out to Blue Lake Park. And out there,
beans.
every spring, we had to string beans. We'd have the pole, and they had wires up there, and we had to put the string up and down, and then they'd grow the beans, and then they harvested the beans, and then sometimes they grow cucumbers. And then we had to go out and pick cucumbers, and it was for that. Then we were connected with a farm at Sauvie's Island for a while, and I think that was with the Portland East Stake too. But then we went to Sauvie's Island and had it there, and then we had a steak farm out to Woodland, and it was a dairy farm. And so we got assigned to go out there and clean the stalls, and to clean the milk vats, the storage milk vats, and all the piping and everything else, and to get everything squared away. And I think every one of our projects lost money. But it was a church program that we were supposed to do it, and so we really tried to do it. Out to Woodland, it looked like we were making money for a while. But what they were doing is the manager out there, if a cow was not producing as it should, he'd sell the cow, but he wouldn't replace it. And then they had a certain milk quota that you can get up to. And so he'd sell the milk quota to somebody else, and so they could sell more milk. So finally, we ran out of cows, ran out of milk, ran out of a farm. But
and they don't have church farms anymore.
They don't have them anyway. And then, of course,
they may some places.
They've got some. They've got big cattle ranches, if you think. But
because they do it for welfare, for the welfare.
And then, of course, we had all kinds of cannery assignments. Our cannery used to be over on, was it Hawthorne or where was it?
It wasn't Hawthorne. I don't remember where it was.
Anyway,
I know the exit.
it was just down in Portland here, just over the bridge a little ways. And I remember we'd always can jam and all kinds of stuff like that. And then, of course, they had the new cannery out to St. Paul.
I've been to
You've
that
probably
one.
been that one.
Once or twice.
We haven't had to go there in the. I haven't gone there for
What
years.
you didn't want to do is go when they were canning salmon. It was pretty stinky. But we were there when they were making ketchup. All he did is open these great big cans, dump them in, add a little bit of vinegar and salt and sugar to them, and recan it as ketchup. So, whatever.
I think they closed that place down, that St. Paul's.
Oh, have
I
they?
think so. Yeah.
Well, I haven't heard of a cannery.
And we used to go out there, and if you went out and worked at the cannery, then you could buy some of the canned food that was excess or something like that. I don't know what it was, but for years we had to do all these cannery assignments,
You guys were
and
busy. Yeah, a lot of
it
busy.
had something to do.
Yeah.
So
True.
We had quite a bit of meetings with President Hinckley when he was just Elder Hinckley on the council, and he was up here quite a few times. You know, he dedicated. Did he dedicate Stevenson Building? I can't remember. It says somewhere whether he did or not. But he was up here, and so he was up here at the time that we were making the Longview Stake separated from the Vancouver Stake. And I was sitting next to him, and he said, "President Horrocks, do you think anybody will vote against who we're going to make stake president?" And I said, "Well, we have one man that he's kind of disgruntled because he thought that he was going to be bishop of the Longview ward, and they put in somebody else." And he says he's had a bad attitude since. And I said, "He just might vote against you." And he says, "Can you see him in the audience anywhere?" I looked around and I said, "Yeah, he's right up there on the balcony." We held it at a school. It's going to be such a big crowd. And he says, "Why don't you just go ask him, say, Elder Hinckley would like you to say the opening prayer." And so I went up and got him. He came down, and President Hinckley had an empty chair next to him. He said, "Hey, Brother Glenn, you sit right here next to me." And while they were sustaining everybody, he was kind of patting his leg. I thought, well,
they're inspired. They're
there's
inspired. They know.
communication.
And I guess it happens sometimes. It must somewhere, you know.
But anyway,
it happens.
he didn't vote against him. But another thing that happened, I don't know, I've told this a lot of times. I shouldn't tell it, I guess. But
Don't tell it then, Harold.
don't tell it then, okay. But I was standing in the hall, and President Hinckley came by, and he says, "President Horrocks, we've got to go pray." And I thought, oh, what did I do? And we went into the High Council room and knelt down with him. And he started, Heavenly Father, he says, "One of my assignments here is to pick a patriarch." And he says, "I've interviewed quite a few men, and I've settled in on Brother So-and-so." He says, "If that's the right choice, please let me have
Stupor of thought.
no, if it's wrong, a stupor of thought, and if not, my mind will be clear and everything," whatever it says in the 9th section of Doctrine and Covenants. And the minute he said amen, he said, "That's the man." And he was up and gone, and I was still kneeling down there wondering what was going on. So not only do they read the scriptures, they practice what it says in there.
Yeah, that's
Because that he just used it. You can just see exactly the ninth section of Doctrine and Covenants.
exactly.
He said those words in there, and so and he was a very, very gracious man.
Mm-hmm.
And one time when we had President Hunter up here, that was before he was the president of the church, and we were having our meetings, and he said, "Brother Horrocks, where's your wife?" And I says, "Well, she's home, and she got a really bad back, and she can hardly move." And he said, "Well, let's go give her a blessing." So we got in the car and came up here, and she was in bed and everything, right in the bedroom. Gave her a blessing.
Embarrassing.
But
The
it
whole
was-
stake presidency.
It's a good thing she had jammies on.
Yeah. They fixed. Then they
But
fixed.
anyway, so
Yeah.
when you meet those general authorities, they are
Yeah, and to be able to.
they're really they're on the ball. They've got a lot of humanity in their soul, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Uh,
So talking about patriarchs, do you remember who all the patriarchs have been in this area?
well, it's mostly been Ursel Schurz
Mm-hmm.
was the first
Did you get
patriarch.
Ursel shirts?
I called him, but he didn't want to.
No. Ursel is dead.
Oh,
Ursel
the
dead, he's
father.
an older
no,
one.
I know. I don't have him.
And he's an Ursel Schurz, and he
Ursel Schurz was, and
I think he-
Bales was. John Bales
John-
was.
was he?
Yes.
Okay. And I know Ursel Schurz gave patriarchal blessings to our two oldest boys.
Mm.
And then Braithwaite was the next patriarch
After.
after Ursel Schurz. In fact, they had them both together for a while because President anyway, Ursel Schurz was getting kind of old and wasn't getting around too good. But he could still give a good blessing, and he
Mm-hmm.
could still argue for the church still.
So.
and anyway, and then after that was Moultrie. So those are the only patriarchs that.
So there's only been 3 or 4.
There's not been very many.
there
Because
was
I
about
remember
4.
Braithwaite. He was he was here when we
Yeah,
first
Braithwaite.
moved
Yeah,
here. He
Braithwaite
gave all the
took
kids.
over from Ursel Schurz, and John Bales was a
The
real
first, I think,
old
the
one.
first.
And John Bales was President Arnold's father-in-law.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So that's how Poifer, because his uncle. So okay, I keep hearing, I'm getting all these people. There's so many people in this whole valley. It's all related together, and it's like I didn't know.
Well, the Poifers, Arnold's wife,
Uh-huh.
and they were President Arnold's wife, and
Old President Poifer's wife was
President Poifer's mother.
Her name was Gertrude.
Bales, but she was a Bales.
They were both Bales.
Oh, okay.
See, and they were implicated in the beginnings of the church with Ann Fennis and
Oh, I see.
see, Viola Hackett was way back then, and she's dead now. She died a year ago.
Huh.
We were invited to her 100th year birthday party. We got all dressed up and went out to the West Stake, and everybody was there, and then came the word that she died that morning.
No, she died at 15 minutes before they were coming to the church.
Oh
Well,
no.
that was the morning.
She went in to go to the bathroom,
Really?
Yeah.
and they heard a clunk, and she fell against the door, and they had to go in through a window to get her. It was just last year, about last.
Yeah, it was her 100th birthday, and she died right in there.
Oh, for heaven's sake! So all
So-
these people are coming, and then
Oh, they had a big feast,
oh,
and
that was
They had a
cool.
chair all set for her that looked like a queen's chair, and
it was
everything.
just sweet. Yeah,
For
she
heaven's
just
sakes,
went
isn't
into
that
the
something?
bathroom and collapsed and died.
Wow. She just wasn't up for that big party.